Episode 103, PAX South coverage with Roy Vallejo. Welcome to the Visionary Variety Podcast, where we cover cool stuff like photo, video, film, books, and technology. So switch on your brain and enjoy the show. Welcome back, listeners, to the Visionary Variety Podcast. I hope you enjoyed last week's episode. Nate and Angela were kind enough to take the reins and do the podcast all on their own. So big applause to them. And this week, though, I'm back, obviously, and we've got a special guest. We've got Roy Vallejo with us. Say hi, Roy.
Hello, how are y'all doing today?
Well, in this episode, we are going to be discussing PAX South, a convention that just happened last weekend as of this recording again, and that was January 17th, 18th, and 19th. And this is a convention that I've gone to, I think, for 4 years now. I think I missed the very first year, but in 2015. But I've gone for 4 years now for photography purposes, and I absolutely love it. The cosplays that are there are always top notch. But I have a different perspective of the con than you do, because I'm actually outside shooting the people that are going in and coming out for the photo shoots. You are actually on the floor, soaking it all in, playing the games, and doing your thing. So we're going to cover pretty much kind of a aerial view of the whole con. So it's an honor to have you on the podcast. I always love having special guests that know something that I don't, and you know a lot of things that I don't. You are a freelance journalist, is that right?
Yes, I've been doing journalism for quite a while. Straight out of high school, worked at my local news station, working in the freelance industry for the past 15, 16 years now. And currently what I do right now, my endeavor is Tiger Shark Media. What I do is I go to different conventions, video game conventions, subculture type things, and I try to find a story and kind of talk about, the different aspects of the subculture, different aspects of, things that you might not see, some of the stories that you might not get from your traditional news outlets like your newspapers and your TV stations. Some of the people that go to these types of events, anime conventions, gaming expos, don't necessarily have a background in it, and for me, I'm passionate about cosplay. I'm a cosplayer myself. I also am an avid gamer, so I'm all about games. So
Before we get started with that, where can our listeners find you online?
you can find me on Instagram at Tiger Shark Media. I have a couple photos up there. I'm trying to build up an Instagram presence. Yeah, I had a professional one that it was mostly a lot of my news coverage, stuff like that. That was pretty popular. But now I'm trying to build up my own private endeavors. You can also find me on Facebook, again, Tiger Shark Media, and then also YouTube. I haven't really developed a presence there, but decent following on Facebook, so I kind of spend my time there.
Very cool. Thanks for that. Well, we met just a few days ago online.
Yeah.
I did a post on the PAX South Facebook group, and I literally just said, is there anyone out there in this group, or does anyone here know somebody that does news type coverage, like, as maybe a job or as a serious hobby? I'm looking for someone that does this as a thing, and I want to have them on my podcast. And you commented, so I'm so happy about that. And again, excited to have someone new and with an interesting hobby on my podcast once again.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you so much.
So, Roy, why don't you tell me about your overall impression of PAX, and then we'll get into the details. So what was your overall impression of it? How did you feel going in, during, and afterwards?
I've been going to PAX since the first PAX South in 2015. That was actually my first news coverage of any type of gaming convention or anime convention, because I had just started working at Time Warner Cable News, and it was actually one of the first stories I actually did. I got to go up and meet one of the Gearbox heads, Randy Pitchford.
Cool.
I got to interview developers. I got to meet a lot of really cool people. Actually in 2017 I got to interview the founders of PAX. I can't remember the names. I apologize for that.
Wow, that's really cool.
But I got to interview them. Just my TV station was kind of drawing back on their coverage of PAX at the time, which was kind of sad, because that year they had the Nintendo Switch had just been announced, and this was actually the first hands-on place that you could get to play, Breath of the Wild, Splatoon 2, a lot of the other really cool games that were coming out for the Switch at the time. My impression overall is I love PAX. I've been going for the past 15 years in a professional capacity, and then in the past few years, it's been more of a personal capacity, Tiger Shark Media, but also just as an avid gamer, because this is this is something I'm passionate about. This is all, usually they bring a lot of big developers. There wasn't that many this year. Tiny Build was there, and a couple like old school names like 3D Realms was also there. There was a lot of really cool, a lot of cool indie developers. The tabletop section was just jam packed. I remember walking in on
Yeah.
Friday, just seeing all the free play tables, just lined up, chairs filled up with people buying dice and all that good stuff. But yeah,
Hmm.
my overall impression was just it was great. There's a lot of good cosplayers. I didn't get to catch some of the really cool ones. I know there's a Samus out there that I didn't get to see and take a photo
Yeah, I
of.
saw it.
Yeah, yeah. I was able to catch a really cool Cloud though. He was dressed up really amazing.
I think I photographed him actually.
I think you might have too, but yeah, he was out there. That was a really good one that I caught.
Is there a cosplay contest at PAX?
Not that I know of. I've never seen one announced. I know they have I know they had some type of cosplay event on Sunday, but I was more interested in checking out another panel that was going on at the same time. But yeah, overall, I felt that it was good. There was a good atmosphere, but there was definitely a lack of major big names that were there. Like in the previous years, you had
Hmm.
Capcom, you had
Sony.
yeah, Sony. It's a Sony game, right? Yeah. Microsoft, they had a decent presence, not really for the past couple of years. Nintendo back in 2017.
Yeah.
Twitch, I know Twitch is kind of backed out because they have their own convention now with TwitchCon.
Hmm.
So they're more interested in
Yeah.
pushing that than anything else. But they filled that void with
Yeah.
Mixer, which I thought was kind of interesting.
I've seen a lot of complaints online concerning the lack of big names at the convention.
Hmm.
And there's kind of a other side of the coin where other people are saying, well, this is an indie con, an indie gaming con. And I don't know if that's accurate. I don't know if they're right or wrong, or
Uh-huh.
it definitely is going that way. And now that may be due to either PAX South's budget going down, or it could be just due to the fact that the big names don't have any big releases worthy of coming down to Texas to talk about.
Uh,
Because when they do have big releases, they come and do that, or they have in the past. But
mhm.
what do you think? Is it budget? Is it an IndieCon for sure, or is it just that there's nothing big worth of coming down here to talk about yet?
I think there's kind of an interesting thing going on right now because PAX South, when I talked to the owners a few years ago and the other interviews I've done in the past, they really promote it as an indie convention. Like
Oh, okay.
they really want to get indie developers, out there with potential buyers, with people that would love to play their games and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of like as an aside, like to get more people to come, they'll try to bring those big names and sometimes they come, sometimes they don't. I think one of the issues is a primarily is that PAX East is happening at the end of the month, so a lot of developers might be saving their time to go out there.
Yeah.
And B, you've got Microsoft and Sony in the development stages for their new generation consoles that'll be coming out, 2021. So they might not,
Yeah. Big.
yeah, big, big, big stuff. The Xbox One X times whatever it's called, and then also the PlayStation 5, which is it's gonna be all the way backwards compatible. Which is I'm excited. I've got games from old school
Oh yeah.
PlayStation ones. Yeah, I'm really excited to kind of put those in, play them. But they don't really have anything to show yet, other than concept arts and then maybe like some prototypes that they're working on as they're developing the consoles. And C, you got games like Cyberpunk 2077 being delayed. That
Oh,
game
that's right.
was supposed to release in March, March 20th, I
Mm.
believe, and they got pushed back all the way to September. And then same thing
Wow.
with Bethesda. Their big game coming out was Doom Eternal, and I'm pumped about that one. I'm pumped about
Oh.
both. Yeah, I'm
Oh
pumped about
yeah.
both games. Yeah, I'm not
They
gonna
both
lie.
look beautiful.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. But they had to push it back from last year because it was supposed to come out in October, November, and they
Hmm.
got pushed back to March. So right now they're in like, you know, get everything done as quick as possible. They still got some stuff to get done, and even was it today actually they released a 15-minute playthrough gameplay
Oh,
video. So that's why I
I
was
got to
real.
see that.
Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna have to check it out too. I haven't gotten a chance yet. That was one of the things that kind of kept running in my head was like, this is why, it might not be the same type of atmosphere as it had in the past years with the bigger developers and stuff
Yeah,
like that. But
that's okay.
yeah, it's okay. Yeah, like for me, it's always been about indie board games and then even just like tabletops.
Hmm.
And one of the things I really think is really cool is that they're developing an esports kind of following at PAX. You had the Houston Outlaws out there, which was really cool. They're playing with the crowd against each other, which was really I thought was really neat. That was pretty jam packed. A lot of the contests that they
That's
had, I
cool.
thought that was really something that they've been developing over the past few years. And budget things. We'll talk about that in a little bit too, because I had some other comments.
So before we go on, I want to get some of your favorites from the whole con. So we'll start with your favorite moments. Do you have any specific things you remember? Maybe something that happened or you observed? Just that was a favorite moment in general. I know it's kind of vague, but do your best.
I think my favorite moment was actually meeting hopefully some new friends at the Gearbox VIP party over at Howl at the
Mm,
Moon. I'm really about like meeting new people and like
yeah.
interacting and having conversations and stuff. And my girlfriend and I met this couple from Houston. They're really nice. Thomas and Liz. Sorry. We kind of really bonded on talking about Borderlands 3 because
Nice.
I've been playing the crap out of that for the past few months, and I thought that was really cool. That's why I like going to gaming conventions. That's why I like going to anime conventions because I love talking
Yeah.
to other people and being finding other people that are passionate about the things that I love too.
Did you have any favorite games that you maybe found or that you played?
Oh yeah, absolutely. 3D Realms had this really cool cyberpunk ninja looking game. I forgot what it. I can't remember what it was called. I'd seen videos beforehand. I tried playing it. It was a little too fast paced for me, and like I didn't want to suck up time trying to learn the game while other people were waiting to try it out. So
Yeah.
I kind of passed on it. I'm still looking forward to it. I'll try it out when I remember the name of it. But there was a couple games that I saw that I really liked. There was one called Calico. I have the card here.
Hmm.
It's called Calico Magical Girls Running Cat Cafes. And
Very niche.
yeah, very niche, right? So one thing's about like indie games when they're in development, there's bugs and stuff like that. So there was like crazy bugs happening during the game, and we're just we were laughing, having a good time because
Oops.
yeah, oops, right? It's like whoops, we're gonna fix that.
Yeah,
Which is
take notes.
yeah, take notes exactly. Another one was Mythic Ocean, which is really cool. And that one's out right now too. It's about an entity kind of swimming through the ocean, through like a
Hmm.
primordial ocean, and you're interacting with the ocean creatures and stuff like that. But you're also talking and influencing primordial gods that live in the
Wow.
ocean. As how do you sway them and talk to them, kind of determines what the world that they wind up making is like, and you get to view that after you've kind of like explored the world that the
Hmm.
developers have made, which is
Interesting.
really cool. And
Yeah.
another one that I liked that was really cool. It's a text based adventure, like kind of like
Wow.
a
They still
like you
make
kind of
those?
just yeah. Well, it was more visual. It's like a visual novel, I guess, more like, but
Oh,
it's
okay.
still very much like dialogue based. They also do another game that's a little more kind of like Japanese horror. It's called World of Horror, if I remember correctly, which is really cool because I played that one last year. So the one that I was talking about, it's called Cyberpunk Bartender Action Nirvana. Yeah.
Let me guess, it's made in Japan?
Yeah, well, I don't think it was made in Japan.
Uh,
They had some developers from
that's
the
crazy.
publishing houses. You're a bartender, and you kind of like you talk to the different characters that show up, and you kind of
Yeah.
you get them drunk to tell you to get information out
Oh
of
my
them,
gosh.
and then you use that
That's great.
information however you want in the game, which I thought was really cool. The ones that I really wanted to try was like I know that the Tiny Build had Secret Neighbor, and they had a couple of their other games that were out too. But man, that place was just jam packed with people playing all the games. I never really got a chance to.
Did you buy any games there? I know a lot of people go there and buy one or two big board games or whatever they're into. Did you purchase anything?
Oh yeah, no. So my girlfriend and I are really big into Super Fight. It's a card-based game where you draw a card and you challenge a person in your group that's playing the game. And be like, I'm gonna fight you with. I can't remember something, but you'd be like, I'll fight you with Goku, who is a midget, who's now a midget, or and like that person will have to drop a fighter out of their cards, and it'll be like, I've got She-Hulk with a uh thing of ham. I don't know. Yeah, I'm just throwing random things out there, but that's kind of how random the game is. You get like thousands of cards. So that
Huh.
was, and
Oh,
every year we usually try to buy more cards and add to it. And this time we got
yeah.
it's a convention exclusive pack. So it's got a lot of
Ooh,
things more like
marketing.
anime convention themed. Yeah, I know, right? So
Yeah.
it was pretty fun.
I've heard a complaint on the groups that there's been a lot of Kickstarter ones that are not funded and finished yet. Is that becoming a thing? We are talking about indie games and they have to be funded. And Kickstarter is, that and GoFundMe are like the big sources of funding. Did you notice that a lot of games that were not finished and are requiring, funding?
Actually, yeah, I did notice that there was a couple games. Can't remember the names off the top of my head, but I did remember seeing
Hmm.
at least two or three that were asking for funding, showing off what they were doing. Vision, they still look cool, but it's kind of hard to want to invest, with a potential
Yeah,
of
it's risky.
not. Yeah, it's risky. Um, I've heard those horror stories about like games of like, oh yeah, and then they just kind of just
Ugh.
jump off the face of the earth.
Yeah, it's a perfect setup for what could be a scam in that you don't get your money back from Kickstarter if you invest in something fails or falls through. You don't get your money back, right?
Yeah, I don't think so. I've never heard people getting
No.
their money back, and they tried to. Yeah, which was an interesting side note because I know that PAX actually was doing a panel on some of these things, on where
Mm.
the game is the game you're funding considered money laundering. I guess I didn't get a chance to check out that panel.
Oh.
Yeah, but the panel description was that people funding these Kickstarter games are actually, helping people launder money, commit illegal activities to help them launder
Oh
money
my
into.
gosh.
Yeah, which I thought was really interesting. I wanted to attend it, but
Yeah.
I'm all over the place, and there's different panels that I really want to check
Yeah.
out, and the expo floor. I was really
Hmm.
interested in just walking around. So
Did you have any favorite cosplays that you saw?
yeah, like I said, the cloud was probably the coolest one that I really was just like
Hmm.
in awe with. I know a lot of the cosplayers are different places, taking photos outside, inside, on the
Hmm.
walkways
With me.
outside. Yeah, exactly right. So and I'm usually inside, and like I'm enjoying the convention, the expo,
Hmm.
and I'll catch some really cool ones. The cloud is really cool. There was also a Flack. I don't know if anybody played Borderlands 3. One of the main characters that you get to play as is his name is Flack, or their
I
name is
think I
Flack.
photographed him.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's the robot with the green eye, right?
yes, that would be Flack.
Did the cosplayer you see had the full backpack with the collar and the pink doggy bowl on the backpack?
Yep, that would be them. I saw them at the convention. I saw them at the.
Yeah, I photographed him.
Hmm.
It was amazing. His suit was just perfect. I
Hmm.
mean, wow, it was
Oh, and
really well done.
also there was a Mara from Overwatch that I got to photograph, which was really cool. Um,
Cool.
and then also, last but not least, my friend Lee, he also cosplays Reaper from Overwatch, and then he looked pretty legit in his
Hmm.
costume. He also does a
That's cool.
Soldier 76, but he lent that cosplay to a friend.
This year, I only photographed one Overwatcher. It was a skin of Mercy, and it was kind of like a blue elven kind of fantasy style skin. I forgot the name of it.
Hmm.
But it was done by Neo Nova Cosplay on Instagram. She's awesome. I mean, I photographed 11 on Saturday and 4 on Friday, and some of those were groups. Like I had the Final Fantasy VII group at the end of Saturday,
Hmm.
and we saw we saw the cloud. There was actually a Final Fantasy VII gathering unconnected to my group that I was shooting, and they were across the river. They said, "Hey, can we come over there?" To meet my group, and said, "Yeah, sure." And my group's cloud bailed on them last minute,
Oh
so
no!
they asked that cloud, "Hey, you want to get a picture with us?" and
Perfect.
uh, and there was a girl cloud. I saw a female cloud running along the river too,
Hmm.
and her sword was huge. It was like bigger than her. It was crazy. So many good cosplays. I just started editing them today, and I am so impressed. I could not wait to post the pictures because they are so good.
Hmm.
All right, so moving on. Did anything in particular surprise you about PAX this year, good or
Um,
bad?
Good or bad? There was a couple things that did surprise me. One was the lack of really big developers.
Hmm.
I had still, even though I knew that these games were delayed, I was still kind of hoping for some type of presence, build up some hype, like that. Like these
Yeah.
are some pretty big anticipated games. I was kind of sad that Nintendo wasn't also there because like Animal Crossing's coming out in March too. I think that's the only
Mm.
game that was slated to come out on the day it's supposed to come out. A couple things that did surprise me were the sheer size of the tabletop community that was out there playing Dungeons and Dragons, playing the card games, playing board
Yeah, I heard
games.
it's huge.
I was really just stunned. I was just like, wow, because I've watched it, for the past 5 years, just like get astronomically bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Hmm.
And which is, I'm really happy that that's a growing community, and that's because that's
Yeah.
something that I'm really into. I play Dungeons and Dragons. I also play Deadlands, Pathfinder, and another thing that what I really thought was really cool and that surprised me was that they moved the PC gaming free play area and the VR upstairs to its own dedicated hall where they had plenty of space, plenty of areas to set up and have people playing VR games, people playing PC games,
Cool.
and then the console area was still nice and still really big and still really really full.
Now that kind of leads me into my next question: is what VR stuff was present?
So it looked like usually the same games they've had for the past few years. Like they had like a
Mm.
night one, stuff like that. The one that I didn't get a chance to try was it Vox Machina? It was like a VR mech game, and they actually had
Ooh,
yeah,
cool.
it sounded cool. I didn't get a chance to try it. Like I said, I'm all over the place
Mm.
and I'm kind of spazzy and I forget things sometimes. But it sounded really cool. It was like they actually had like they had tournaments going on too for some of the games as well. Because over the past few years, there's just like been a really big desire for people to want to try out these VR games.
All right, so some of the complaints that I've seen online are, there's always people complaining about stuff,
Yeah,
and sometimes it's just peripheral stuff that's really not a valid complaint. But I did see a few what I consider legit complaints, and that one of the one of the ones that I noticed was about the food.
yeah,
Did you eat in the convention? Has that been a problem for years? Bad food options inside the convention?
yeah. I don't usually buy it. It's sometimes like I feel like it's overpriced, and the quality
Oh yeah.
isn't all that great. So I learned years ago just to stay away from it, and I learned that
Hmm.
from doing my photojournalist work because like I sometimes go to events and where they have this type of catering and stuff like that, and it's not always great. So when
You
people
know,
when
bring
people
your own food.
yeah, there's plenty of great cheap options in and around downtown that you can find. Some of them take a little bit of digging around
Yeah.
for, but they're there and it's
Hmm.
definitely worth it.
Yeah, if you want good food, you're gonna have to give like a 1 or 2 hour break and go somewhere else, and then come right back.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I was at, I think it was Alamo City Comic Con, one of the last conventions that I was actually in. This is before I started doing like my planned photo shoots and stuff outside. So Nate and I were in the con, and we were hungry, didn't bring food, so we went to this like hot dog station, and it was just terrible. It was like $6 for a hot dog, and it was so bad.
Hmm.
Now, speaking of food at cons, I saw a post on a Facebook group that I didn't understand. Maybe you know more about this. The forbidden spaghetti. What the heck is this spaghetti in a bag?
Okay, so I
It's in a Ziploc
yes,
bag. What's happening?
it's from a podcaster whose name is Freddie.
Oh.
His name is Freddie Spaghetti, and he decided he was gonna to promote his podcast. He was gonna make spaghetti, eat it up.
Oh my
The
gosh.
morning of the convention, he put it in a Bud Light cooler bag, and he was handing it to people to promote his podcast. I actually found
Wow.
I found a little bit of that spaghetti on the sidewalk on Alamo Street, uh, walking towards the Alamo, and I was just like, "What the hell is this on the floor?" And I was like, "Oh, I know what that is." And
Blech.
I was like, "I know what that is." So naturally,
Advertising.
yeah, I advertised. So I took a picture of it. I have to send you that later. It's pretty funny.
Uh,
It just
Send it to him too.
yeah. Oh yeah, I posted it up for him to see.
That's crazy.
Uh-huh.
I hope that was like food rule safe and sanitary to eat out of a bag after who knows how long. I don't know.
Yeah.
Someone gets food poisoning from that. Would be in trouble.
I hope that nobody ate that. I hope that nobody ate that. I really do.
Well, I need to connect with that podcast and say, hey, help me out with my marketing. That's great. Another complaint, and this is one that I actually encountered firsthand, was one of my cosplayers was trying to get to their specific time that they booked me for, and they couldn't get outside because the workers inside would not let them out of the side river level exits, which go straight to the grotto, the area with those big, dungeon looking stone
Hello?
columns. And they were really frustrated because they were on street level. They literally were looking down the escalator saying, can I walk down this escalator and go out that door? And the workers were like, no, you can't go down there. Let me call and see if you can go out the back exit and you can walk around down the stairs. And it's like, just let me go down the escalator, So they were really, really strict about the exits and stuff. Have you heard about that?
From what I could tell, threat of active shooters, of violence at major gathering events. You did notice that they had the metal detectors and the checkpoint to basically get inside PAX. You couldn't get in any other way.
Oh, so they're lessening the points of entry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that was
interesting. Okay, well, I'll give them that. That makes sense. I'm all for safety.
Yeah, same here, man. I think that's important.
All right. Now, earlier when you were telling me about your passion for journalism and finding a good story, I came across an interesting story, and this is about the empty booth with the TV on a table. Did you encounter the empty booth?
Yes, actually, I did come across the table. I did not think anything of it. I walked right past it. I didn't even register. I was like, oh, it's just an empty table. I didn't even see the gentleman standing there. I remember seeing the monitor, but I don't remember seeing it moving.
Yeah.
So I walked right past it. I didn't think anything of it. I kind of regret that now because that story behind it is like it's kind of heartbreaking. You have that developer coming in and trying to get their game out there, and then you have I follow a lot of foreign bands too, and they've had issues getting their visas approved in time. Where they'll submit them on time. They'll pay the fees that they need to pay for or whatever, and then the federal government is dragging their feet on getting them to them in time, and before you know it, they're just like, nope, we're denying your visa, or they just don't get it to them in time, and like tours have ended. Tours don't happen in the United States because of something like that. So,
for those of you that are not in on what the story was, basically there was a really large area. I think it was maybe 2 or 3 booths worth that was rented by a Chinese company named Demon Studios. And what they were going to do was, like you said, put out some content and kind of hopefully get some funding and attention for their new game, which is named Justice Blocks. However, their visas, like you said, didn't get approved, couldn't come. So the childhood friend of the owner of the company, who, this is crazy, his name is Frodo. I kid you not.
Yeah.
Chinese dude named Frodo. That's cool. But his childhood friend apparently lives here in the States. He did him a favor by just coming and standing in the place that they already rented for in case there's any questions or any attention. And all they had was this TV. They had a flat screen TV set up on the table. I'm assuming on this like a USB slideshow showing different images and stuff from what they do have so far of the game, which is not complete. So wow, it's heartbreaking that they couldn't come. They must have spent a lot of money renting that spot.
Absolutely.
And also trying to get here, the flight and the visa and stuff, that should have been expensive too.
Yep, it does add up.
But hey, that's a good friend, standing by that table. At least he did that.
Yeah, exactly.
And now they've got some attention, it kind of comes full circle. They're getting a lot of attention now because of that. And who knows, maybe this will help them out, make up for lost time or whatever.
Yeah, I know. It's really heartbreaking. It's like, because a lot of indie developers, they're putting livelihoods on the line. Some people they've quit their jobs. They want to do something that they're passionate about, and they're kind of going all in on developing, getting their studio off the ground or getting a game off the ground, and it can make or break their livelihoods.
Yeah, Ken, that's how art is. It's tough, you take a risk and you hope someone else enjoys something as much as you do, and therefore you can make a living off of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, let's close out this episode by talking about, well, one more thing. What would you like to see next year? Maybe something specific or maybe improvements in any areas. What are you hoping for next year?
Um, I'm hoping to see either the PS5 or
Ooh, yeah.
the Xbox One X, or the Xbox X is what I think it's called.
Two?
Now that
Xbox
I
2?
actually remember what it's called. Yeah, I want to be able to. I want to get some hands-on time with it. I really want to be able to play some of the games. I really want to talk to somebody about the consoles coming out. What the environment's going to change, because Microsoft is really going in this really interesting direction where they're having a lot of their PC titles and Xbox titles being able to be cross-platform. So you'll be able to play a game that's on Xbox on your PC. You'll be able to play a PC game on your
That's
Xbox. You'll be able
awesome.
to, yeah, you'll be able to play together. I don't know about
Yeah,
having to buy.
online, cross-platform.
Yeah, I don't know if you have to buy two copies of it, but at least you'll be able to play on your Xbox and on your PC. And then they're talking about making playing their Xbox games on Android phones and making it more mobile.
Wow.
Yeah, which I'm really interested in too, because I don't always get to be home and play my video games. I'm at school,
Mhm.
I have downtime in between shoots, whatever. Like, I like to be able to play games.
Yeah.
I think that would be it, really. If anything, maybe a really cool esports tournaments. I really liked what they were doing this year, where
Mhm.
they had a lot of a lot of players, a lot of really good tournaments. They had a Fortnite tournament. They had the Overwatch
Nice.
stuff. Yeah, I kind of noticed that from last year that they didn't have as much. And I know they had a PUBG,
Mhm.
Players Unknown Battlegrounds tournament last year. They still had the Fortnite. They had Overwatch and all that sort of stuff. I would like to see more of that esports presence kind of expand. One thing that I would also like to see, or like to get more publication of the type of panels that they have. I kind of feel like
Mhm.
the some of the programming gets pushed to the wayside, and not a lot of people know about them. So you kind of like you have to dig through the guides and stuff like that, while you're at the convention, while rather than being
Mhm.
able to go on the website and look up some of these things and get a little bit of a head start, or like kind of like a
Yeah, totally. Plan your day.
yeah, exactly. Like I would like to be able to do that a little bit better.
It'd be nice.
It would be nice. What else? I think that's it.
If you do get what you want next year and you do get to interview some people, try to record it because that would be cool. Maybe we can have a follow-up episode,
Yeah.
PAX South 2021, and we can have you and or your recordings of some interviews you got on the show. That'd be really cool if it works out.
Yeah.
No pressure.
Yeah, no worries.
Awesome. Well, I think that closes out this episode. Thank you so much, Roy. We really appreciate you giving me some time and sharing what you learned.
Absolutely. I do want to say one more thing. I
Hmm.
really think the musical experience there kind of went under the radar. Yeah, the jam
Oh,
space
cool. I didn't
upstairs
know about
on
that.
the upstairs on the second floor. There's a jam space where they bring in a lot of like independent artists.
Huh.
Yeah, like really cool stuff. One of the people that I follow, Kaiju Core. I didn't get to check out his set, but I've checked out his set at multiple conventions, anime conventions, and Donnie,
Hmm.
he freaking rocks it every single time. He's great. And then also like you had the three major musical acts. I can't remember the middle one, but it was the Mariachi Entertainment System, which is really great. Just mariachi versions of like video game songs and all that sort of stuff was really cool.
Oh my gosh, that's
Yeah,
hilarious. I gotta hear that.
yeah, no, they're great. I love them. I can't remember the middle band, Freeze Pop, which has been they came like at the first PAX South in 2015, and I've been a big fan of synth pop for a few decades, so I got to finally check them out, and it was really fun. I really like to see them more musical acts.
Cool kind of connection to the gaming culture. Well, hopefully you get what you want next year and
Hmm.
we can talk about it again. Now, one last time, where can our listeners find you online and what's your online handles?
Yeah, you can find me online, Roy Vallejo, my Facebook, and you can also find my journalistic endeavors on Tiger Shark Media. You can find it on Instagram. You can find it on Facebook, and you can also find it on YouTube. I don't really publish on YouTube, but
Hmm.
I kind of spend my time on Facebook. It's Tiger Shark, one word, and then media.
Awesome. Cool, cool. Well, thanks again and hope to talk to you again soon, okay? Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you for your time.
Well, everybody out there, thanks for listening to this episode. We'd love to hear what you thought about the convention, good or bad. Let us know. You can comment on any of the social media posts for this episode on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. Or if you'd like to keep it anonymous, go ahead and email us at tvvpodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear back from our listeners on anything about the show, or if you have any suggestions for a future episode, just send us a message or an email, and we'll do our best to work it into our schedule. Again, thanks for listening, and we look forward to being with you next week.
If you like this show, be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app. You can also find our previous episodes there and listen whenever you want. We love to hear from our listeners, so if you have any comments or suggestions for future episodes, you can reach us at tvvpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening and have a great week.